Alright guys, what's up? So, I'm gonna start this one with a story. Last year, uh, second or third job I ever did. No, that's not true. It's about the fourth job I ever did. There's a bunch of trees that I had to cut, and it was an hour away. And I went and I did the estimate because I was working down the street for someone else. So the customer came to see me, and he asked me if I could come by and do an estimate afterwards, which I did. And there were a bunch of trees to cut and trim and everything like that. And I looked at them, and I thought, no problem. I'll do this, and this, and $500. I'll do it. So next week, I went back and I did it, or I tried to do it, and I tried to go up one of the trees. I know it was really, really, really rickety, and my throw bag I couldn't find, and I just made it, and it worked and everything like that. I made it with a mallet, a rubber mallet that I had bought for $2 at the dollar store, and I had popped the head off of it, and I had sawed it into 3 pieces, and I bought a metal eye for like 10 cents, and I just fucking screwed that shit into the mallet head, and I bought 100 feet of string from the dollar store for $1 or 50 cents, and I bought a bag from the dollar store for $3. So I had a homemade throw bag kit for like $6 plus tax, under $10. It was awesome. I still have it actually, but we couldn't find it, so I couldn't get up into the tree the way I wanted to. So I tried to spike up the tree, and it was fucking rickety. It went one way for like 10 feet, leaning heavily, and then it went another way for another 10 feet, and then another way, and then another way, and then another way. And I couldn't get my safety line up in the tree, so I had to spike up the whole thing, and I got about a third of the way up, and the whole thing started to shake. And, I realized that I couldn't do it. So I came down and I told the customer, I said, look, I'm really sorry, but I explained to him what I just explained to you guys, and I said, I can't do it. So if you want, I was going to charge you, let's say like $300 to do these 3 limbs. I can either charge you $300 less and do the rest of the job, or, we can add to the job while I'm here. And he chose to add to the job, so he picked out a couple more trees, and I trimmed and cut some more trees, and I went above and beyond. And Mark was with me, and I felt really bad. Not even bad for the customer, but bad for myself, like inadequate, that I couldn't do it. And I thought I could. I thought I had like 2 or 3 ways to do it, and I couldn't, and it fucking sucked. And then the guy called me back about a month later, and he left a message saying that we did a great job, and underneath a pile of branches he found my throw bag kit, and I could come get it at any time. And I did go get it. I went back and I got it, and he hired me this year again to do another job. And he knew that I did, he knew how I worked, and he knew how Mark worked, and he liked the way we worked, and he liked our honesty and everything like that. And, we went back and we did another job, and we made, I think, $600 for it. Another day's work. We should have charged more, but again, it was still good. It was a good score for what we did, and he and his wife were very happy. And I have the footage of that, but it's not good footage, so I've been on the fence about uploading it. But anyway, I'll probably upload it anyway, but we'll see. We'll see. So we went back, and, another good day's work. And after that, he called us back again, about a month later, saying that a tree fell in his yard, and it didn't damage anything, but it was a big tree, and it was too big for him to take away and to process. And it was big. It was a big stem that broke, and he wanted us to go up there and cut it up and take it away. No problem. And he wanted us to do some other work for him that he and his wife were having done next year. And they decided, since, we were going to go up there and drive up there and everything like that, that he might as well, give us a full day's work out of it, which we we really appreciate. You know, it's a nice customer that way. So we went up there and we looked at the limb that had fallen down, and we gave him a good deal. So $250. We'll cut it up and take it away. And it was about just under 2 hours of work. But we looked at the rest of what he wanted done, and it was quite a bit of work. And I wanted to do it that day, but as an expert at biting off more than I can chew, I told him that it was more than a day's work. It was probably 2 days' work. And I gave him a price for what he wanted done. And I told him $1,000, and it was basically 2 trees. So I said $750 per tree, so a total of $1,500. But if I can leave the branches and leave the wood, then I can do it for $500 per tree. So he said, great. He says there's a branch pickup October 3rd. So if you want to do it before then that would be great. Or you can do it in the winter, but I want to do it now. I want money now. So I said, great. So I made the deal. 2 trees, $500 each. We drag all the branches to the curb for the city, and all the wood, we cut it up into firewood. So 16 inches. We didn't even have to cut it up. We had to cut it up into like 3-foot pieces, but we cut it up into 16 inches, and we stacked it very nicely. And it took us 2 days, just like I had planned. Well, less than 2 days. It took us 1 day to take the first tree down, and it took us half a day to take the second tree down. And these were the trees that were part of the deal last year that I tried to climb and I could not, and that I couldn't get. And it was basically the same trees, and they needed to come down because after the other one broke, I looked at the way it broke in the wind, and these were the same type of trees that are growing the same way, and they're all over the house and over the garage and over the workshop and over the shed, that were all brand new, and it was just a matter of time before they all fucking broke. And yeah, so that's what we did this year. And this year they're gnarly, but no problem. And that's the tree that you see me in right now, taking it down. And this is the end of it. So I have the first day of footage from my GoPro. Well, actually I have both days of footage, but I have the first day of footage from my GoPro, and it's fucking gnarly. And I'm gonna upload that next. It's really good. I really like it. And then day 2, which is gnarly as well, my fucking lens on my camera had a fucking oil smudge all over it, and I was looking straight at the sun, the entire time I was filming. So by my standard, the footage is unusable. Now I'm going to show you, probably not in this video, but I'll probably show you like a 5-second clip of what I consider unusable, but it's really unusable. And I want my footage to be crystal clear. And it sucks when the footage gets scrapped like that, but I'd rather maintain my high standard. And what I'm doing right now in this tree, like, it's kind of fucking complicated, but I'm using a couple of new gadgets and devices, and I'm trying new things, and I'm taking the time because I took enough time to do the job, and I quoted enough time to do the job, and I didn't get myself in over my head. So I took enough time that it wasn't a big deal if I wanted to fuck around in the tree and think, and if I wanted to take 3 times as long, if I wanted to try something, or to see if something's gonna work, or to try a new gadget in a certain way. And yeah, it was like a little bit tedious, clipping and unclipping knots and carabiners all the time, and untangling ropes, but that's the job. And the job is finding an optimum balance for every other job of how many tools you're going to bring up with you, or how many workers you need, and like most of the time, man, like what I've found, 2 workers are optimum. And Mark and I, there's very little that we can't do as a team. And we do things that crews of like 4 or 5 people with millions of dollars of equipment do. And we do it just he and I. Because we're fucking bootstrappers, and we're both fucking hungry. And I wanted to tell this story because it goes with the footage. And that's the point of my channel. It's a channel about improvement. So whose improvement? Well, you decide. I've improved. I've been doing this for just over a year. And I taught myself how to do everything. So that's an improvement right there. So have you improved from watching my channel? I hope so. Like, I really, really, really hope so. That's the goal. Like, otherwise you're just fucking wasting your time. And so there are 2 things that I want to talk about in this video, apart from the story. And the first thing is to do what you like. But I think that's going to be its own separate video. Because I know I mentioned it a couple of times. But people really don't fucking get it, man. You have to really like what you do. Really, man. It's important for so many fucking reasons. And that's also how you're going to get good. Because if you don't like what you do, then there's no motivation to get better. Another thing I wanted to talk about are the problems with capitalism. Because I notice a lot of people making videos about this. People that aren't capitalists. And they say they are. But ultimately, like, they just want the free ride. And they want everything provided for them. And the whole thing about capitalism is that if society, let's say my country, Canada. Let's say my country, Canada, would end basically all government intervention and would deregulate everything. Okay? Like, I know, people are going to say it's never going to happen. It probably won't. But let's say that would happen. And everyone's going to say, yeah, but what if, these guys would suffer, this person would suffer, this person would suffer, this person would die, this person would be, yeah, all that would happen. All that has to happen. It does. It's not going to be or it wouldn't be a soft transition. It's not. It's just like if you want to start a business and you're working at your blue pill job and you have dreams of doing bigger and better things. And, if the stars align and the juxtaposition of the moon and the fucking summer solstice and, the weather is just right and you have that feeling, and you stretched and you want to wait until your diet's good because, and you have to wait for all this stuff and you want to have enough money and you don't want to fucking work too hard on the weekend, but you want to start your own business, never gonna fucking happen. Never gonna fucking happen. Like, if you come by some money or something like that, then great. Pump it into your fucking business and get started. But for the most part, man, you gotta fucking jump. It's a fucking hard transition. Like, when you quit your job, man, and you say fuck it, and you just decide to fucking go, like, man, you're jumping. Expect for your head to go fucking underwater often, and you're gonna be bobbing up and down, and that's the whole fucking point. The whole point is that you've been boarding and riding on sinking ships your entire life, and you're fed up of it, and you've realized that you're better off swimming. And you could probably build your own fucking ship. It's going to be out of driftwood at first, because you're going to be building it while you're fucking treading water, trying not to get fucking eaten by sharks and trying to fucking stay alive. That's assuming your body's fucking strong enough to fucking tread water. And let me tell you guys, it probably isn't. And, a lot of people too, man, they have it all wrong on how to get in shape, or how to stay in shape, or how to look like you're in shape. I'll tell you guys one thing, it's all stamina. It all fucking comes down to stamina. Stamina is fucking everything. The workouts that people want to neglect and shit on, like the cardio workouts, cardio is fucking key. Cardio is everything. Without cardio, you're fucking nothing. You're nothing. And I say it's everything. Like, yes and no. It's the prerequisite. It's like saying getting up out of bed is everything. It's just the fucking start, man. But make sure your body won't fucking let you down. Make sure your body is able to fucking match your will. And that's the other fucking point that I wanted to talk about, is how far are you willing to go? There should only be one answer, and that should be that there are no limits. I'm willing to go as far as it fucking takes. There's no fucking limit. There should be no limit. If you answer this with yeah, but, then you're not made for this. You know, a lot of the look, man. A lot of the things I'm fucking talking about, it's just you should know it already. You should. It's just my perspective on it. If you're a blue-pilled simp, you don't know any of this, or you know it, but you're fucking denying it. And yeah, truth is fucking harsh sometimes. But like I said, my channel is about improvement. And look at how much I've improved, man. In 1 year, I taught myself how to do this from nothing. Like, so, you can definitely do something. So what are you waiting for? What the fuck are you waiting for? And if you know all this stuff already, then go. Then just go fucking do it. I'm confirming what people have been telling you is wrong. I'm confirming that you are right. That you have been right all along. And who to believe? Who to trust? Well, trust your boss, trust your peers, trust your family, trust your neighbors, trust your girlfriend, trust your friends who, they live near you and you've been hanging around with them for a long time. Or trust me. Like, the choice is yours. Listen to who you want. You can listen to them about other stuff, but if you want to know, how to start something from scratch, how to fucking come from fucking less than zero, and to basically go as high as you want, then, well, that's what I can show you how to do, because I've done it. So you have your own way for sure. I'm not saying you have to do it my way, but I'm saying these are all things that have fucking worked for me. And this video is taken at a spot where we've been to 5 times so far, and 2 of those 5 times Mark got sick because he worked himself fucking too hard. And this happens, man. And Mark works at night also, because I can't fucking support both of us all year round. I thought I could. I told Mark that I could last year. I told him to quit his fucking night job last year that he was at for fucking 7 years or 5 years, and then he quit. And I told him we should move away, and then we moved away. And I told him we'd get good business, and then we didn't, and everything fucking went to shit, and we had to move back, and then he had to fucking get his old job back, but only 3 days a week. And everyone knows that he left for bigger and better things, and then he came back. And when before we came back, I moved into my parents' house for a month while we were looking for an apartment, and Mark moved in also. Well, moved in. We're sleeping there, That's it. And we were doing this crazy job for a month and a half straight, like fucking 80 feet up in the air, higher than we had ever been, bigger tree than we had ever fucking climbed. We had no fucking money, man, because we were doing this job, looking for the big fucking payoff at the end. And it was hardly fucking anything, man. Like, it's hardly anything that we got for this big job. So it was a fucking nightmare. But the point of the story is that that was nothing. That was fucking nothing, okay? And, like, if I had to do it again, I would. I wouldn't like to. I'd fucking hate it. I fucking hated it last time. But we both would if we fucking had to. There's no limit to how far we'd go. And we both worked ourselves to the point of fucking throwing up. All night, man. And the last time we came to this fucking place, well, 2 times ago, Mark was throwing up on the job site, and then he had to go to work at night after, and he was throwing up all night at work, and he threw up all day the next day, and then he had to work the next fucking night too. And Mark does this shit all the time. And why he was throwing up was because he got fucking heat stroke. And he was also dehydrated. But it happens, guys. It happens so fucking easily. Like, I can skip rope for an hour in the sun in 30-degree temperature wearing a fucking rubber suit. I shit you not. And I sweat buckets after, and then I'll go skateboarding after. And like I said, I don't get tired. Sure, I get tired. And that is nothing compared to what dragging branches does for you for 3 hours at a slow pace. Just bending over and picking up a couple of branches, walking with them, bending over, picking up a couple of branches, walking with them, bending over, picking a couple of branches, walking with them. This fucking destroys you, man. I've had 3 near-death experiences doing this job. One of them, I cut my arm open in a tree, and I have a nice scar to show it. Another one, I took down a tree and it fucking split in the middle, and it cracked, and it fucking hit me in the face, and then it pinned me to the ground, and then Mark had to cut it loose, and the tree was 60 feet tall. It was a big fucking tree, super fucking heavy, and yeah, I should have fucking died. And the third was fucking heat stroke, and heat stroke by far was the fucking worst one. And I'm not gonna get into like what happens too much, because that's a subject for a different video, but yeah, it was by far the fucking worst one. And it's fucking rough, man. And it happened to Mark, and like, if it's happened to you ever, like, you really fucking feel for the fucking person. And the thing is, the reason it happened to Mark the second time that we were at this spot was we had someone come over visit us from England, and he came to learn the business and get his soft edges knocked off, as he would say. And so we brought him on the job with us a couple of times, and on this job, this was the first one that we brought him on, and we had to drop a big tree into a river, and we had to get it out after. And the river was only 4 feet deep, but it was fucking tough. And most of the work could have been done from the riverbank, because there were 3 of us. But Mr. fucking expert from England, cheap fucking motherfucker, he didn't want to get his boots dirty. So he decided that because he was on vacation, or because he wasn't like a full-time employee yet, or because he didn't want to be a hindrance. But the main reason was that he didn't want to get his boots dirty. He decided to just stand well past the riverbank, out of the mud, and to watch Mark do everything. Now, the thing is, with Mark and Dave's combined strength, no one would have had to get wet. But with Dave just watching, Mark had to go into the river, and he had to cut the fucking logs up to draggable sections, and he was in there fucking waist deep for 2.5 hours, while Dave fucking stood on the fucking hill watching, shouting fucking slogans at him. And Dave, where is he now? Well, he's at home, but Dave ended up going home a week early because he could not fucking cut it. He could not. He thought, again, that he said he was coming here to get his soft edges knocked off, and he self-deported a week early. He basically went out for a pack of cigarettes and never fucking came back. He got on an early flight and went home, which is really surprising considering, we'll make another video about everything that fucking happened, because these are all things that you should not do if you want to succeed, which is why he went home a week early. And he went back to his blue-pilled job as a fucking substitute elementary school teacher, where he quote-unquote red pills the shit out of the kids, but just the boys though, not the girls, because fuck them. And every 4 months he has to fucking beg to get his contract renewed. But it's cool though, he has an in, because his ex-girlfriend of 9 years is his boss. And, go back to your fucking world. And he realized also that as we were trying to chip away at the fucking soft edges, well, get rid of those and there's nothing left, because that's all you are, man. You're nothing but fucking soft edges and excuses. That's it. That was the whole time here. It was a guy that fucking made excuses and complained the entire fucking time and refused to fucking pay his way. And this is a fucking cheap man. And I'm glad you went home early. At least you had the fucking, I'd say balls to do that, but it was probably a fucking decision just made in complete fucking cowardice. And you made excuses the entire time you were here, and you were nothing but fucking dead weight. And see, Mark fell on his ass right now while filming. He was fucking walking backwards and he tripped over a log, but Mark doesn't give a fuck. Like I said, Mark's in it to win it, just like me. And there's no distance that we will not travel in order to get what we want. And, there's no height that we will not climb in order to achieve our goals. And this should be no different for you. And we still might not get them, okay? We still might not. So if you're not willing to do any of that, if you're not willing to get your boots dirty, then how the fuck can you expect to succeed? Like, really, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you think someone else is gonna get dirty, and therein lies the fucking problem. That's the problem with fucking capitalism, right? Or the problem that people think is that they want someone else to get dirty. Well, it's because you're not capitalist. You're not fucking willing to get dirty. You're not willing to do the work. People look at what I do and they ask me how much money I make, and I can't give them a set number, but I can tell them like job per job, and they're very critical. They always come up with a way they can make better money, or that I should make better money. And the reality is that they don't know what they're fucking talking about. They have no experience to speak on, and they have a fucking set wage. And even in my first year, man, I reinvested a lot of stuff in my business, but I made a lot of money. I made probably over $50,000 last year. So that's not bad, man. I've been below the poverty line my entire fucking life. And I went to college, I went to trade school. I did everything they fucking told me to do. And I was fucking struggling to even get hired at minimum wage jobs. One of the last jobs I did before I fucking started my own tree business was driving a fucking grease trap truck around, fucking cleaning fucking grease traps. The show fucking Shameless, if you guys ever watch that leftist fucking piece of shit, like, this is a job that, like, the fucking dad, like, looking for fucking dirty jobs to, like, get hurt at. Like, he was walking onto all these different fucking job sites that were, like, dangerous and hazardous, and, like, trying to get hurt so he could claim, like, some sort of workman's comp. And there's, like, a grease truck somewhere, and he, like, walks up to it, and then he turns around and he's like, no, hell no. And I used to fucking do that shit, man. I was always fucking trying to, like, make the best of whatever fucking situation I had. And that's another fucking really important proverb. It's not how much you know. It's how much you can do with what little you know. I started with nothing. That's another cool thing about this last fucking job, is that the customer kept telling us how impressed he was. And he noticed too. He noticed that we weren't able to do the tree last year. And then this year it was like right away. You just went right up. And he noticed also that every time we went there, we had a new piece of equipment or several, or a new technique we were working on, and he confirmed our hypothesis that when people see you do a better job and see that you're willing to invest in the business, they're more willing to fucking pay a higher price. So all this stuff matters, right? And like I said, it's about improvement. And, on that note, not about improvement, but about the customer's feedback, the customer also asked where our friend was from England. And before we could answer, he said that he knew as soon as he stepped out of the car that this wasn't going to work. Those were his exact words. And that he was a lousy worker, and that he did nothing but waste time, complain, make excuses, and that he knew right away that Canada was going to be way too harsh for him. And he knew this at a glance. He could tell us his fucking third day here. So after fucking 3 weeks, man, yeah, I can confirm everything that the customer said is true. And fucking how, man, is so much fucking worse than that. Like I said, this is a fucking cheap man. But anyway, that's not supposed to be the focus of the video. But I have to fucking mention it because it's the difference between fucking getting dirty and being willing to get dirty and being willing to go as far as it fucking takes, or unwilling to fucking do shit. And ultimately, like, I don't think he came here to learn the ropes or anything like that. I think he came here to fucking get a fucking free ride. That's why teachers become teachers, not because they like to teach, but because they need fucking 2 months off in the summer. So I can't offer you 2 months off in the summer. I can't offer you any pension. I can't offer you any benefits. All I can offer you is fucking struggling and fucking hard fucking work. So who the fuck would want that? Well, Mark and I do, and that's why Mark and I work together. And that's why I would take one of Mark over 100 of anybody else. So think on that, guys. I hope it helps. See you next time. Bye.